Happy Friday, everybody. I'm glad that you're here watching this because we are going to talk about breakfast this morning. Now, the first thing that we need to do is we need to talk about how important breakfast is, because we've all been taught that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, right? Well, let's have a chat about that. Why is breakfast the most important meal of the day? Who decided breakfast was the most important meal of the day? Because I promise you, it wasn't me, and it wasn't the parents who are buying all of those expensive boxes of sugary cereal and not being able to keep enough in the house because the kids just can't get enough. So who was it? And I'm going to give you a chance to guess. If it wasn't me, and it wasn't the parents, and it wasn't the grandparents, who had a vested interest in, just let me get my camera adjusted here. There we go. There we are. Whoops. There we go. I am just all over the place today. If it wasn't us, who was it? And the answer is, it was big food companies. That's who it was. They're the only ones that have a real interest in you spending your hard-earned money on breakfast cereals and breakfast drinks and all of that other stuff. So today, let's talk about when you should eat breakfast and why you should eat breakfast. If you wake up in the morning and you are hungry, and you know you're hungry because you didn't check with your mouth, you checked with your stomach, and your stomach was saying, a cup of coffee is not quite going to do it today. You didn't eat supper last night and now I'm hungry. Then you should have breakfast. Now I will tell you, nice hot cup of coffee first thing in the morning is the way I like to start my day. We're going to do something a little bit different. And today I have amaretto sweetener in my coffee. Now I am just going to get my coffee topped up. You know, I only have another week or two of having my production crew in the house with me. And then it's going to be back to just me and you guys. So I'm going to miss Del when he goes back to work. But I am very grateful that between the surgeon that did the work on his elbow and his dedication to eating properly to improve his health, he has been healing much more quickly than the surgeon expected. And I think that's because partly he does not eat breakfast, neither one of us do, and he's doing keto. So that's an anti-inflammatory diet, and if you have any kind of an injury, whether intentional like a surgery or an accidental injury, if you are eating an anti-inflammatory diet, your body only puts the inflammation that it needs to help heal. And that might be a lot or it might be a little, but at least it's going to be necessary protective inflammation. Okay, so that's that. Now, back to why do we eat breakfast? Eat breakfast if you're hungry. If you're not hungry, don't eat breakfast. I am very glad that you're here to help, Del. I am appreciating every week that you're here, every show that you're here to help, because it means when I forget something, it just magically appears. So I'm going to have to be way more organized when he goes back to work. Okay, now I am going to grab something here that we are going to use in our breakfast. Now, just let me get back to, now this is TSL's apple pie spice. And we're going to want that because whether it's a cold morning or a hot morning, if you need breakfast, this is something that you can do ahead of time, or you can do it first thing in the morning. And it's going to be nutritious and delicious, and it's going to be low carb. So firstly, if we're going to be cooking, let's get the cooking underway, and I'll see if I can't get somebody over here to stir for me. Okay, let's just let you see what's going on here. And that camera is just falling all over the place. Okay, so here's what we are going to do. First of all, we are going to do a hot porridge. Now, basically what you need to know about this is if you're using a nut flour or a coconut flour in something, it is a much better idea to toast it first. You don't have to, but if you do, let me get this turned on. We'll keep the heat up a little bit higher because we want this to toast fairly quickly. We don't want to take all day doing it. Okay, so I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of coconut flour and 2 tablespoons of almond flour. And we are going to let these toast. So you're going to want, let's just get this over here where you can see it. You want to be stirring this constantly because when this starts toasting, you'll see the difference in color. Now let's bring you over here with me. Now I just need a camera crew, right? Okay, yeah, apparently I am not the best camera crew in the world. There we go. Okay, now you can actually turn the heat up even higher, but if you do that, it'll start toasting very quickly, and then it will start burning very, very quickly. So we're just going to leave this like this. Now, when this starts toasting, it's going to give us a much deeper, nuttier flavor. And toasted coconut, have you ever had toasted coconut? It's amazing. Oh, and it is starting already. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this, but on the bottom, I see the coconut or the almond, one of the two, starting to get very toasty. And the color of this, you can see in some spots, the color is a darker brown. And that is exactly what we want because that's going to give it the deep, deep, nutty flavor. Okay. Now you can see this is not white anymore, and it is definitely getting, now we're going to turn that off, and because this pot is hot, it's going to continue to toast in here, so you need to keep stirring. And so that's going to be an important part. Now look at how nice and toasty brown that is. Okay, now to this awesome pot of porridge, we are going to add 2 tablespoons of flax meal. Now, we could have, now we're not toasting the flax meal because it wouldn't make a huge amount of difference, but the coconut and the almond makes a huge, huge difference. Okay, now, on top of this, we are adding, and she forgets to get it out of the fridge. Okay. We are going to add 2 tablespoons or thereabouts of coconut cream. Oh, you hear that sizzling going on? And we're going to see if we can get half a cup of water. So 2 tablespoons of coconut cream or coconut milk. Almond milk if you prefer. Now, if you have a nut allergy and you can't use almond milk, okay, now you can see this is porridging already. That's my word of the day, porridging. Okay, now we're going to add a little bit of water to this because we want it to cook down a bit. And the water will dissolve out of here, but that's going to give us an opportunity to get this all stirred up and to get some flavor in here. Now we've got this nice and toasty, so that's awesome. Let's add a little bit of flavor to it. And you know what? Use your imagination where this is concerned, but watch your carbs because it is really easy to go overboard on the carbs. Now, if almonds are an issue for you, instead of 2 tablespoons of almonds, you can grind some sesame seeds. And make sure you toast them before you grind them because it's true with sesame seeds too. Now, I just put half a teaspoon of vanilla in. Would you rather have a whole teaspoon? That's entirely up to you. Now, this is where the apple pie spice comes in, and you just sprinkle a little bit on top. Doesn't take very much. And then you give it a stir. Now we're going to turn this on too, and we're just going to let this cook down a little bit until it's about porridge consistency. And as it's cooking down, those nice warm apple pie spices are going to cook in there, and it's going to be wonderful. So we'll see if we can get somebody to take care of the stirring for us for a few minutes. And we'll come over here because we are going to make something absolutely delicious, and you are going to love it. Okay, now the first thing you need is a container with a lid. If you buy, this is a salsa jar. If you buy salsa in the store, first of all, read the ingredients. Not all salsas are created equal. But also, if you're buying salsa in the store, save your jars, because this is an awesome way to do an overnight note meal. Okay, so did you know that half a cup of oatmeal will have, half a cup of raw oatmeal will have more than your daily carb budget? Just in half a cup. And so if you're doing full keto and you're staying at 20 grams of carbs or less every day, now you're eating nothing but eggs and butter and steak. Now, if you're okay with that, I guess that's okay. But remember that you shouldn't be using more than a third of your budget in any meal. So if you're eating one meal a day, that takes you down to about 8 grams of carbs, 7 grams of carbs. If you're eating 3 meals a day, now you're down to 6.5 grams of carbs. If you're only eating 1 meal a day, you still shouldn't be doing more than a third. So 7 or 8 grams of carbs, and the max recommended carbs in your macro budget, it shouldn't be over 10 grams in a meal. Now, I say a third. That's all you should be doing. So let's see what we can do to make a no oats note meal. Get that? And look at this. Oh, we are starting to bubble. Cauldron, cauldron, boil and bubble. You guys see that? That is thickening up nicely. About another 2 minutes and that's going to be all done. And then we'll just let it cool for a couple of minutes. But we'll let it keep going for a little bit. Okay, now, when you are making an overnight oatmeal, the ingredients are super easy. We are going to add 2 tablespoons of chia seeds to the jar. Now, chia seeds are important in this because chia seeds, even though you can't see it, chia seeds have got this incredible gelatinous little pocket that they're wrapped in, but it's all dehydrated when they're dry, so you can't really tell. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons of chia seeds. Now, when we add the liquid to this, oh, look at this. This is done, done, done. Now, you want to know the exciting part of this? Pardon me. The total carbs in this, let me get down to where I need to be because I have this written down over here. The total carbs in this is 21. 21 grams. Okay, well that's more than our daily budget until you look at the fiber that we've put in here, because we put a ton of fiber in there. There's 17 grams of fiber. So now we are talking about 4 grams of carbs, net carbs, in our bowl of oatmeal. Okay, so let's get a bowl and put this in here. We'll get back to our overnight oatmeal in a minute. But let's put this in a bowl and let it cool for a little bit. Now, I gotta tell you, this is a huge, huge serving of oatmeal. I am reasonably sure that I could not eat all of this, so I would be sharing this with a friend for sure. Look at that. That reminds me of the hot cereal that we had in the morning when I was a kid, although we did not put apple pie spice and vanilla in it, but okay, there we go. Now we're just going to send this away. Now there is our first bowl of oatmeal. Now, in our next one, we have 2 tablespoons. You know what? Let's start that again. We're going to put half a tablespoon of chia seeds in this one because we're going to put in a tablespoon of flax, and then we are going to add 3 tablespoons of hemp hearts. Now this, okay, so the chia seeds is going to thicken it up because we're not cooking. The hemp hearts, you guys can see this. Now, this is a Kirkland brand. I buy it at Costco. Here, does that get clear? Okay, so 3 tablespoons or a 1/4 cup of hemp hearts. And this is going to be very low carb as well. Okay, so we have the chia seeds in there to thicken it. We have the hemp hearts to take the place of the oats in the oatmeal. And then we have the flax to give it the fiber that we would have gotten from the oats. See, oats are a grain, and we don't need them. So we're going to do without them. Okay, so the next thing that we need is a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. Okay, so we are talking 45 milliliters or 45 grams. It weighs out the same. So let's do this. We just used our other. Okay, 3 tablespoons. And we are going to add that to our jar. Now this jar, when we get all of our ingredients in here, we're just going to tuck this in the fridge and we're going to leave it until tomorrow. So do you want to do 5 or 6 jars? They'll stay in the fridge for a few days. I wouldn't want to do more than 4 or 5 or maybe 6. Okay, now we might need that again, so we're just going to leave that there. And then we are going to add a 1/4 cup or 3 tablespoons of coconut milk, or you can use almond milk. Now, using coconut milk like we're doing this morning, or coconut cream, is keeping the nuts out of this. So if you have an issue with nuts, then this is a good option for you. And I'm making a mess all over the counter. Okay, now, I like vanilla in everything, so we're going to put just a little dab of vanilla in here. We're not even going to need a full half teaspoon. I think a 1/4 teaspoon is going to be lots. So we'll just dump that in there. Okay. Now, we're just going to grab a spoon and give this a little bit of a stir. As this thickens up, the volume is going to increase, and you will find when you eat this that it is incredibly filling. If you want to do this, if you're feeding a family, put 3 or 4 times in a bigger jar. Okay, now, that is that. And you will notice that there is no sweetener in there because it's not ready to eat. So, let's talk about the bowl that is ready to eat, and we'll put this in the fridge. It'll be ready for tomorrow. Okay, now, the bowl that is ready to eat. Let's talk about this. What do you want on top? Toppings have got carbs. That's just all there is to it. So we'll talk a little bit about what toppings you can use and what kind of carbs they have. If you are using raspberries, 10 raspberries, how many carbs do you think they have? 10 raspberries is going to give you 1.1 grams of carbs. So now you've taken this bowl from 4 grams up to 5.1. Blueberries. How many blueberries are we talking here? About 10 berries. So 7 grams of blueberries. is going to give you net carbs of 1.68. So that's even more than the raspberries. Yeah, that's even more than the raspberries. Okay, every time you use an ingredient for a topping, you are definitely increasing your carb budget. So let's talk about a few other things. Pecans, 28 grams of pecans. Now that is 28 grams of pecans, and they're all nice and crushed and ready to sprinkle on top. Now, do you need all of that? Maybe not. 2 grams of carbs in 28 grams of pecans. So we can sprinkle a little bit on there and maybe call that 0.25. Okay, now I don't eat any type of hot cereal, any type of hot porridge without brown sugar on it. Now this is Amson Naturals brown sugar substitute, and you can sprinkle a little bit of this on here and it does not increase the carbs at all, because the only carbs in here are sugar alcohols. So those are not going to affect your blood sugar, not going to affect your carb budget. But if you want something like peanut butter, in 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, you're looking at 3 full grams of carbs, and only 1 of that is fiber. So you're getting 2 grams of carbs in 1 tablespoon of peanut butter. I'm not going to waste my carb budget on that. I'm stingy with my carbs. Okay, so right now on here I have crushed pecans and brown sugar, and I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of whipping cream, which is going to increase your fat content in your meal. And it's also going to make it absolutely delicious. And then we're going to try a bite of this. So I hope you wrote this down. You can put a few jars in the fridge or a big jar and just portion it out if you're making things for a family. You can also throw it in the fridge, and when it's ready, put it in your lunch bag to take with you to work. That works well too. Okay, so let's see how we did. I'm gonna drip. That is awesome. Now, honestly, the only thing, and I forgot to put this in, I'm good at forgetting something, a little bit of salt, because it enhances the flavor, not a lot, 1/8 of a teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon, do it the way you like it. So, what I want you all to remember from today is don't eat your breakfast. It is not the most important meal of the day. The most important meal of the day is the meal that you eat when you're actually hungry. Nobody said you had to have 3 meals a day. Your children are not going to starve to death if they don't eat breakfast. If they don't want it, don't make them eat it. Now, I will say this. When we're talking about doing keto with children, if you have a child who is dealing with obesity, then keto is a really good option for them. But children are growing, so their carb budget is going to be different. They need more nutrition than we do. Make sure that you are involving someone in your family's keto journey that has been trained, so that you are all getting the proper nutrition. Now, we are already at 10:30, and I know I was a couple minutes late getting started this morning because I was trying to gather up all of the ingredients and get this all ready. Pardon me. Apparently, that has to be swallowed, not inhaled. So, now we've learned something else. I hope all of you, good morning, Evelyn. I hope all of you are going to try this oatmeal recipe. It's a cooler day in Alberta today, so I'm looking forward to having at least part of this bowl of oatmeal, and whatever is left over will go in the jar, in the fridge, and it'll be good for tomorrow, and you can eat it cold or you can eat it hot. But do not eat your oatmeal. It's not keto, and it's not going to do good things for your body, and we want to do good things for our body. So have an amazing Friday. I hope you all do your very best to live your best version of this shining life. That's what we're going to do today. And we're going to do it by going and visiting with a friend that we haven't seen for a while. So I hope that you find someone that you love that you haven't seen for a while and reach out to them. They need to hear from you as much as you need to hear from them. Go live this shining life, and I will see you on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Mountain, and again on Wednesday morning and Friday morning at 10 a.m. Mountain. So send this video to your friends, your family, anybody who needs keto, anybody who is type 2 diabetic, because I'll tell you, they tell type 2 diabetics to eat your oats in the morning. It will skyrocket your blood sugar. This will not. So tell someone you love what they can do to help themselves, and then leave it on their plate. It's not up to you to worry about. Thank you for joining me. I will see